Hi everyone, this video is about using SQL and cool ideas to improve performance of existing code. I want to address the concept of a parent task and a child task, where the parent task iterates some records and the child tasks iterate some records, and how we can improve that and reduce those numbers of iterations. So let's start by running our demo parent-child problem. This generates a report where we can see the information of the customer and the number of orders that each customer has. Now, if we run this with the profiler, we'll be able to see something interesting going on. We can see that the demo parent-child program took 373 milliseconds. We can see that the customer table was accessed once with this query from the database. And we can see that the only row was called 182 times, probably one for each customer. And the count order subtask was called, and it performed 182 select statements to go and get the orders, and you can see every filter for each and every one. Now this is great and cool, and this was probably the only way to do it when you were using Bitwig, but now we're not using Bitwig anymore, you're in SQL, and we can do this better. I want you to notice two things around here. First of all, the number of queries that we have, and second, the number of fetches that we have. It goes and gets the actual row per each result. So Hango had 20 rows, and FR, A, and R had 4 rows. Cool. So, first thing I want to do, I want to improve the select statement. You know something before that, let's add some measurements so we can know that we've had some progress. So let's go to the demo parent and child program and get some statistics about time without the profiler, because the profiler does add some overhead to it. So I'm going to say var stopwatch. Stopwatch is a class by Microsoft in System Diagnostics. It just collects time, so it's pretty cool. Stopwatch, stopwatch start, stopwatch stop, and message box stopwatch elapsed. And yeah, toString. Okay, so now we have a clear measurement. We can see that it's taking 0.54, okay, over a second. Let's keep that somewhere. And we've got 0.54. Cool. We'll get back to that later. So the first thing we can do is we can eliminate the entire call to the inner task, and instead of calling it, we can use the count function of the entity. Let me show you how we do that. We say var o equals new models orders. Okay, this is how we get the orders entity to work with. And then we can, before I go and update the code, let's first of all figure out what we have here to begin with. And so the only thing we've added so far was the stopwatch to measure the times. Let's keep it. Cool. Now let's have a look at what do we have here. We have a parent task, okay, with the main table of customers, and we have an inner class, count orders, that iterates the orders where order customer ID is equal to parent customer ID. Okay, so this is the starting point. Two controllers, one runs on order, the other runs on customers, the other runs on orders, and here we are. So for quick and dirty, our first thing that we can do, let's say var o equals new models orders. Now the child task is updating the number of orders with a plus value. So instead of doing that, I will say number of orders dot value equals o dot count rows of o dot customer ID is equal to customer dot customer ID. Okay, so this will generate a count statement to the database, and we'll remove the need for the subtask. So I can now delete the subtask, and since I like deleting code, I can delete all of this code over here of the count orders class. Okay, let's run this. Okay, and we can see that the time went down to 0.39. So let's put it in Excel. Have Excel, and we started with 0.54, and now we've got 0.39. So that's an improvement of 28%, just by making this little change. Okay, let's run this with the profiler. Okay, so we can see now that the only row actually takes less time and just performs an SQL statement instead of calling an inner controller and doing iterations and doing things around it. And every SQL statement is the count that we looked at. Okay, so all of this is great and nice, but still this can be improved because this still requires a back and forth with the database. It still sends a statement to the database. So we currently have 182 statements for the count, another statement for the main table. We want to improve on that. Before we do that, let's first of all review the changes we've done so far. So to achieve this 28% improvement, this is the changes we had to do. We selected the orders table and we update the number of orders value with the result of the count rows. And we removed the entire inner controller. So you were able to actually delete 52 lines of code in the process, almost 50% of the code in the process. So that's kind of nice. Great. Now, so this is the first option, but still, every time we run this, it generates a new SQL statement that goes to the database, and we want to reduce this number of statements. So I'm going to use a helper class that exists in env that is called inner select. Let's have a look and see what it does. env data inner select. Now this is a new class, it's in development, so it doesn't come with the migration. Whenever you want it, just contact us and we'll be happy to send it to you. And let me show you how you use it. So in my constructor, I'm going to define the orders tables. New models orders, just like I've defined at the bottom over here. Now I'm going to go to the inner select class and I will ask it to turn to count. I want it to turn the number of orders column into count. Okay, it will actually change its syntax and position and make it into an inner select. We'll see that in a second. So the syntax is give it the result column, the child entity, which is orders, the filter, which is orders.customer ID is equal to customer.customer ID, and it requires the controller, which is this. Okay, now let's delete those 2 lines of code in my only row and run this again. So as you can see, the results are identical and they work perfectly, but what happened actually now in terms of timing, it went down to 0.26. Okay, so if we go back to our Excel document, 0.26 means a 52% improvement. Okay, now what actually happened here? Let's run the profiler. What we can see now is the only row is actually empty. It's not doing anything other than writing to the form or other than the actual printing operation. And we can see here that the customer statement, if we go and review the SQLs that sent to the database, is now a bit more interesting. Okay, it gets the customer ID and company name, but it also added this part of the statement, okay, which was added by that turn to count functions that we called on the inner select. It actually added a kind of a virtual column to the SQL statement that has the count and that has the filter, and it was able to do all of this in a single select to the database. Now, obviously, the farther you are to the database or the more rows that you have, this will give you a much better performance improvement compared to the original approach, and it still requires a minimum change to the controller. Let's review the changes that we've done in order to do this. Okay, so what have we done? We just added these two lines of code to our controller, which have turned the number of orders virtuals that we already had into the result columns that we had over here. And we deleted the entire inner controller that is no longer needed because of this change. Now, inner select, as I said earlier, is a class in progress. Feel free to contact us to get it. We will improve it as time goes by and as we run into more performance scenarios that you may care about. But you can see here in its code that this is an implementation for sum, this is an implementation for count, and you can create any one of your implementation in case you want to. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like it. If you want to see more videos about performance, let us know and we'll be happy to make them. Cheers!